Hi everyone, Jeffy here, and welcome back to Around the World in Many Days. Today's episode is number 43 and it's titled Symmetries. Now, this time we're going to have a puzzle type that you won't have done before because this is an original, not invented by me, but suggested by someone in chat saying that, okay, why don't you do Quadritaisho with multiple different types of symmetry? So, this is an attempt to do just that. So, we had Quadritaisho before, that was the one where you draw lines and make symmetrical rooms in the grid. So the basic idea is the same with some extra rules. Let's read the preamble. So this is a Quadritaisho puzzle. Divide the grid into rooms by drawing borders along grid lines. Each room contains exactly one symbol, which are circle, diamond, vertical bar, and horizontal bar. Rooms with a vertical bar are symmetrical along an axis which runs vertically through the bar. Rooms with a horizontal bar are symmetrical along an axis which runs horizontally through the bar, and rooms with a circle are 180-degree rotationally symmetrical, with the circle in the central point, and rooms with a diamond are 90-degree rotationally symmetrical, with the diamond in the central point. Did I say horizontally there? Rotationally symmetrical. This dot and diamond are rotationally symmetrical, and I'll have examples of those in a bit. So some symbols have a colored background in the finished grid, shade the entire room in the same color as the background of each symbol. So there are 4 different symbols, and I'll show you that now an example of that. So these are all symmetrical rooms that we are trying to achieve here, and this dot, this circle here, is what we have in normal Quadritaisho puzzles. So this is 180-degree rotationally symmetrical, which means if we turn this shape upside down, it remains the same. So that means if we draw a line here, we have to draw a line here as well. So 180 degrees symmetry is what we have in regular Quadritaisho, and that is all we have in regular Quadritaisho. Now these others are new. So this diamond is 90-degree rotationally symmetrical. So if we turn, let's say, this 90 degrees in whatever direction, let's say we move it this way, so this cell here becomes this. Now all of these walls have to stay the same. So this shape has to stay exactly the same when you rotate it 90 degrees. So for example, this wall has to be here as well, and here as well, and here as well. So that's 90-degree rotational symmetry. And then we have this vertical bar, which is vertical symmetry. So imagine a line going through this bar here. So everything must be symmetrical. This is the sort of mirror, and this one side has to be a mirror image of the other. So for example, this line here would have a counterpart here on the other side of the mirror, if you imagine the line being here. And the same is true of the horizontal bar. Yeah, this was the vertical bar, horizontal bar here. So everything has to be mirrored along this axis here. So for example, this line here has a counterpart here, and this line here has a counterpart here, mirrored along this axis. So those are the 4 different types of symbols that we're going to be using in this puzzle. But let's read the rest of the preamble first. And then we have some shading. Once we have the finished grid, we have some shading as well. So where are we? I was actually meant to visit another destination before this one, but the plans have changed and this one was moved up instead. This is of course a completely plausible turn of events, as there are plenty of reasons one might have to deviate from the original plan during a round-the-world trip, and not at all an indicator of someone having been stuck trying to come up how to finish the next intended puzzle for the last 3 weeks. Anyway, today I have climbed quite a few steps to visit an extremely impressive religious site. Can you guess where I am? Love Gladys. Okay. So complete fiction, of course, about someone being stuck creating the next puzzle. And if you scroll down, you might even see that there is no link to the next puzzle. So this is the last one so far released. So we have actually caught up with the released puzzles, and for the stated reason. So let's open an editable grid. We sort of scrolled down, but this is the grid. So we have all these symbols, and some of them have colored backgrounds. and we have to color those rooms in the end. So 3 different colors used here: purple, blue, and red. So let's open an editable grid and start thinking about how to start with a Quadritaisho. So where's our grid? It's here. I could have fit it on one screen, but it would have been a little small. So I'm going to have to scroll up and down a little bit, not a lot, but it's a pretty large grid. So, and we have a line tool at our disposal. So what do we start with? What do we do first? Well, the sort of obvious way to start is to think about the fact that each room only has one symbol. So everywhere where we have 2 symbols next to each other, we have to separate those symbols. So that is sort of what we're going to have to do before anything else, or what we can definitely do before anything else. So any border which has a symbol on both sides of it has to be a line here. So because it has the 2 symbols have to be separated by a wall here. And all of these have to be separated, and all of these. And basically, and we could, while we are filling this, we could be looking at the symmetries already. And that's what I would be doing if I was solving it. If I was just solving this without explaining, but it's maybe better, simpler to explain once we've done this part first. So let's see, just separate everything where 2 symbols are next to each other. And this, for example, maybe not easy. It is easy to see because this is in the middle here, but this cell is part of the room that this symbol is in. So that's why we can draw this as well. And this same is true of regular Quadritaisho. You can just draw all of these lines at the start without even thinking about anything else. And often there are quite a lot of them, like in this case. This may be more than usual, more symbols next to each other than in a usual puzzle, but often you get quite a lot of these situations. So are we almost done here? I think we are almost done. There's a line that we can draw this and here as well. This central area, does that have a lot of, oh, here we are. These lines maybe also not as easy to see because these are both in the middle. Looks like we are almost done. There's a line that we can do. And I think that's it. And even if it isn't, if we have a couple of lines missing, we can fill them out in the next steps. So now, once we have these initial lines, and obviously these grid borders count as initial lines as well because they help us as well. So what we can do next is think about the symmetries and fill in every symmetrical line. So every counterpart of each line that we've filled. And like I said, this could have been done in the first step, but maybe it's better to explain here. So this, for example, this dot here means 180-degree symmetry. So this line, if we turn this this box, whichever shape it will be, if we turn it upside down with this in the center, that means that this line will end up here. So that means for it to remain the same when we turn it upside down, there must be a line here. And that's true of any dot that's limited on 2 sides, so vertically and horizontally. If we have a vertical and horizontal line limiting this dot here, we can immediately draw these the other side as well and complete that. So for example, this dot has a wall at the top and on the right, so it has to have a wall at the bottom and on the left. This one as well, top and right, so we can fill the bottom and the left part as well. Here we also have the similar situation with this dot. This is only limited on this side, but not at the top, so we can't fill the top yet. This must have a line here, and in fact it's just separating these two. This, and let's go through the dots first. We could do it, go through them just sort of in a mixed way, just to. But I think maybe we'll look at dots first and then the others. So this dot has to have this line here. This dot has to have this line on the other side, and now this dot has to have this line here. So it's if you follow a line through the dot, you can see it's here on the same position, and this line, this horizontal line, has to be, the counterpart has to be here. This dot has to have a counterpart for this horizontal line at the top. Then we have this dot, which has to have a line at the other side, and this one has to have a line here. And now this dot has a line here, which means it has to have one, if we go through the dot again, here. This is, now here we have this half already done for this dot. So if we turn that upside down, that would be this half. So those all have to be lines. This line has to be symmetrically here. This is a dot, and it has this corner. So this corner, if we turn that upside down, that would end up here. So these have to be lines. Here we do some more separation that we missed. And this dot is limited on 3 sides, so this must be, the counterpart of this line has to be here. This is limited on 2 sides, so the counterpart of this is here, and the counterpart of this horizontal line is at the bottom. And same story here. This dot, we need to separate these actually. So this dot needs a counterpart for this line, and this dot needs a counterpart for this line. So a lot of these dots end up being just minimal rooms, one cell or 2 cells in this case. Same is here. So this can only needs a counterpart for this line, and it's there. This one needs a counterpart for this line, so it's there. And this one is limited on at the top and all the way along the left side, so the right side, and the bottom must also be filled. Now this dot is limited by the grid border, so we can already mark this as a line because we need a counterpart for these 2 lines here, and they end up here. If you look at this line, it ends up there, and if you look at this line, it ends up there. Same is true of this dot and this dot there. This is limited on 2 sides, so we can fill that in. This one has a line here, and its counterpart, if you go again through the dot there, we go here, and this one through the dot goes there, which was which we could have done in the first step as well. This one needs a counterpart for this one, and this one needs a counterpart for this line. So all of these end up being 1 cell rooms here. Now this can be filled because we have 2 sides already filled, so we can fill in the others. This one needs a counterpart for this one, but we don't know whether it continues in both directions or whether it's a one cell room here. This one has to be a 1 cell room because of this line, has to go there. This one is limited on 2 sides, so we can fill that in, and this one is limited on 2 sides, so we can fill that in. This line doesn't have a counterpart yet. If we go through the dot again, it has to be here. This dot needs a line here to make a counterpart for this line of the grid border. And do we have any more dots that we haven't looked at? Oh, this dot needs a top because it's limited on 3 sides. This one has to have a line here to make up for the grid border. This one is limited on 2 sides, so we can fill that in. And now these dots have to be separated, so there has to be a line here. And now we can look at all the counterparts of all these lines around this dot. So these 2 have to be represented here, and then this horizontal line has to be here, and this horizontal line going again through the dot has to be here. So this ended up being a minimal cell as well. Now we don't have a counterpart for this line on this side of the dot. And then this dot needs a counterpart here. This dot needs a line here to account for this one. And I think we are almost done with the dots, at least as far as we can do without looking at the other symbols. Here, this dot still needs these two lines. So this one needs a counterpart here, and this one needs a counterpart here. Going through the dot again. This one is limited on two sides, so that has to be a one cell dot room. So room with the dot size 1. That one has to have a wall at the bottom because of the top wall. This one is fine. This we looked at. This one needs a wall at the bottom, and this one needs a wall at the top. And this one, to account for the grid border, we have to make these walls at the left-hand side. And since we have a line at the top, we have to have a line at the bottom as well. So I think here's a dot we haven't looked at. It's limited on two sides, so it has to be limited on the other sides symmetrically as well. Now I think that might be the dots. Oh, here we have another dot, so that's limited on two sides. Have to do this, and this one needs a counterpart for this bottom line, so that's there. Okay, now maybe what's the next easiest step? I think the diamonds are pretty easy. A lot of the diamonds are even easier maybe than the dots, because the diamond is very restricted. Like any wall that a diamond has to be replicated 4 times. It has to have that on all 4 sides. So for example, if we take a diamond that has just a simple one wall here, if we turn that 90 degrees, these are 90-degree rotational symmetry. So if we turn this wall 90 degrees this way, I'm pointing in the wrong, I'm looking at my head and I'm pointing at the wrong direction. If we are pointing that way, so that wall ends up here. If we turn that 90 degrees, it ends up this way. And if we turn again 90 degrees, it ends up this way. So just this one wall gives us an entire room, basically. If we touch the diamond with anything, it has to be a one cell diamond or a minimal diamond. It doesn't have to be one cell. Like for example, this, which is going to be 4 cells. Since we are limiting it on this side, it has to be limited on this side and this side and this side. So any diamond that has a wall directly next to it, we can already fill in the 4 sides. So this one has 4 sides. This one has a wall next to it, so that's 4 sides. This one has a wall next to it. This one and all of these, in fact, are one cell diamonds. That one was already filled in. This one needs to be filled in, and this one has 2 walls. This one doesn't yet. This one doesn't yet. This one doesn't yet. Here we have a diamond that's next to a wall. Here we have a diamond that's next to the grid border, and that counts as a wall. So these 2 lines have to be replicated here, here, and here. This diamond doesn't touch anything. This diamond doesn't touch anything. This diamond is already next to 3 walls, has to be a 4th. Anything at the bottom here? This one has a wall here, so that has to be here, here, and here. Is that all the diamonds that we can do? Oh, this one. So this one has a half a wall here, so it's not limited entirely, but this wall has to have a counterpart here, here, and here. But now we missed one wall that we could have filled in, which was this one, because we have to separate these 2 symbols. So in fact, this is an entire wall, and we can fill in a minimal diamond room here. Okay, those are the diamonds that we can do. We can do something about this diamond, but let's go through the basic things first for all 4 symbols. Like for this room has to be part of this diamond, so we know what shape this diamond is going to be. But let's go to that in a bit. Let's look at the line symmetries first. So the basic rules of the line symmetries, we haven't filled those in. So anything that's next to a line, let's say this one, this is a horizontal bar, But anything that's next to a bar, it has to have a counterpart on the other side. So for example, this line here has to have a counterpart precisely here. So on the other side of the mirror, so to speak. Now this line has to have a counterpart to, for this bar, horizontal bar, this line has to have a counterpart here, but that's the grid border, there's already a line there. This bar, this line here, for if we're looking at this horizontal bar, this line already is satisfied because it's a half line mirrored by another half line. So that doesn't need a counterpart for this symbol here. And neither does this for this symbol. But for this symbol, this line needs a counterpart, and there is already one here. So here we have a horizontal bar, so that line needs a counterpart here. This one's already happy. It has two lines which are mirrored, so we don't need to add anything there. If we knew this room was part of this one, then we could draw one here because this line would need a counterpart here if we look at the horizontal symmetry, but we don't know whether it's part of this one or part of the dot there. So let's go through the easy deductions for all these bars. So this horizontal bar has a line there, needs a line on the other side. This horizontal bar has a horizontal line there, needs another one there. This vertical bar needs a counterpart for this one, so it's there. This vertical bar is already satisfied. This half line is mirrored by the other half line, and there are no lines here, so we can't add anything there. This horizontal bar needs a counterpart for this part of the grid border, so that has to be here. Can't do anything with this vertical bar. Don't have any limitations on this side, and this is already a sort of mirror image of itself. Can't do anything with this because we don't know whether this cell is part of it, and even if it was, it could be just two cells or it could be this way. We can do something about this. So this horizontal bar, we need a counterpart for this line at the bottom, and same story here, we need a counterpart for the bottom at the top here. Here we need a counterpart for this top line at the bottom, and here we need a counterpart for this line on the left on the right. Now, any other lines, any other bars here? This bar, horizontal bar, needs a counterpart for the top line there. Here we need a counterpart for this line, and we have to be really careful because if it was a dot, we would be drawing it here. But now since it's a bar, we have to mirror it this way, so it has to be here. Here we have a vertical bar, so counterpart of this has to be there. Here we have a vertical bar, so counterpart of this has to be there. Same thing here, counterpart of this has to be there. And now this could continue this way, and this could continue this way. Let's see. This is already fine. This is a mirror image on both sides. This is a vertical bar, so we don't need anything we don't need to account for the grid border because this line is mirrored here. It's not mirrored on anywhere here. So the grid border sort of mirroring itself on this axis. Same here. But here we do need something for the grid border. So this has to be mirrored here. This line has to be mirrored here for this vertical bar. For this horizontal bar, this line has to be mirrored here. And for this one, this line has to be mirrored here. Any other bars? I'm sure we're missing something. Again, careful here. It's very easy to think that this must be a line, but these lines are mirrors of each other. So this could continue in this direction, this room. And for the bars, for the horizontal and vertical bar, the bar doesn't have to be in the middle, in the middle of the room. So this could, for example, go all the way here, and that would be fine for this horizontal bar. So the horizontal bar doesn't have to be in the middle of the room. It just has to be on the central sort of axis of the room, somewhere on it. So that's why we can't draw this line here. We have some separation missing here. So this symbol has to be separated from all of these. Now these walls are mirror images of each other, so we don't get anything more from them, but we can fill in all of these dots that we missed. So this one and this one as well. We have to separate these two as well, and this now needs for this horizontal line, we need a counterpart for this line, and that is here. If we imagine the axis going here, that is this. Then for this bar, we need a counterpart for these two line segments here, so those are here. Anything else we can do with the bars? Maybe not, and we'll find out. If we missed something, we'll find out. But then those are the sort of basic automatic things that you do when you start filling out this puzzle. And they don't, you have to be a bit careful because there are a couple of, the rules are different for each symbol, but it's not all that complicated. Now, how to continue from here, we have to think about what cells are reachable from what symbols. And some of them are easy, like for example, we know this cell is only reachable by this dot here, because there are lines here preventing it from being reached by anything else. So in all of those cases, and this is the simplest one, where it's only reachable from one symbol, that means that we can draw all these lines, the counterparts of those lines, on the other side, and the other side would be here then. So we can fill in this room here, knowing that this cell has to be part of this room, the room with this dot. Let's see if there are any other cases where it's just one. There's only one possibility. We have a wall missing from this dot, I'm just realizing. So for example, in the corner here, this corner cell must be part of the room with this symbol, because there's a wall here, it can't go there, it can only come here. And so for this to be horizontal along this axis, we have to have walls here and here. So this is the counterpart of these two walls here. But we can't still fill in this because this room could continue upwards, right? It would have to be symmetrical, so we can't take just one of these cells, but we could take both, and that would still be symmetrical along this axis. Any other cells that we see that must be part of a certain symbol? This one, for example, limited on 3 sides, so it has to go join whatever is on this side, and whatever is on this side is this room. So we need a counterpart for these 3 walls. And if we look at this axis, they have to be here, here, and here. Now these two cells here have to be part of this dot, because there are walls all around them except towards this dot. So a counterpart for all of these walls would have to be here, 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 and here. And now this dot is limited on 3 sides, must do a 4th, and this one is limited on 3 sides, we must make a 4th. So this is now a 180-degree rotationally symmetrical room as well. And now we made another room here, which can only go into one symbol, and that is this one. But this is less helpful for us, because this room, if we look at this axis, it's already symmetrical along this vertical axis. So that this room doesn't give us this room, or it doesn't give us anything else, because this room only has to be symmetrical along this axis that goes through it. So it's already fine. And we don't know whether this cell is part of this symbol or not. This doesn't give us that. What else? This cell must be part of this, but we already have a room here that is already fully walled here, and this is symmetrical along this horizontal line. What about this room here? So it can't be part of this symbol, even though this symbol can still reach it. That would mean, if this is part of it, that would mean that there would have to be a counterpart cell here to make a symmetrical room along this axis. So in fact, this cell can only be part of this symbol, the room with this symbol. And if it's part of this this horizontal bar, that would mean that this wall needs a counterpart, mirrored wall here. And that already filled in our corner room here, which is symmetrical along this axis. This cell here must be part of this symbol. So vertical bar, and the mirror is here. So if we look at the mirror, the other side of the mirror for these three walls, those have to be here, here, and here. And this accumulates once we make these walls, because now we made a cell here that can only be part of one symbol, and that is this one. So if we look at now this dot symmetry, so it has to be from here, that's this this cell here, and it has to have these three walls. But in addition to this, also these two cells have to be part of this dot, because they can't get anywhere else. So the counterpart cells would be this and this cell, and we can just draw the walls around, and that is our dot room done there. That gave us a wall next to a diamond, so that means the diamond is one cell. Now we can come to what we talked about earlier. So this cell, again, can only be part of one symbol, and that is this diamond. So it has to have, and now since it's part of a diamond, it has to have three others that are mirror images of it. So this cell has to be here. It has three walls. It has to be here with three walls, and it has to be here with three walls. So all of these are forced from just this one cell having to be part of the diamond. Now that gave us a cell here that can only be part of this vertical bar. That means its counterpart along this axis is this, and it has to have these three walls here. That gave us a line next to the dot, so this top line has to have a counterpart here. Now this cell could still be part of the horizontal line, like this would be still horizontally symmetrical, but it could also be part of this dot here. That would still be fine. So we don't know which symbol that cell connects to yet. But here we have a couple of cells cut off from the others, and it looks like it's very helpful because it's this big area. But in fact, since this is a horizontal bar, these are already horizontally symmetrical. So we don't know anything about whether this continues or not. Unfortunately, can we say something about this cell? Now, if this cell is forced to be part of this diamond, that would give us this cell, and this cell, all of which are free, by the way. If one of them wasn't free, we could draw this line immediately, and we would know that this is part of something else. But we have quite a few options here. Could it be part of this dot here? That would be the counterpart of it would be here, this cell, and that is not available. So it's not part of this dot. But it could still be part of this one. So it could be this, the counterpart of this cell would be here, and that is available. So we could have this shape, for example, for this vertical line. So we don't know yet about this cell. Often the corners are quite useful. So let's look at the corners. How about this cell here? Now this has only two options because it can't get out here. Like it has to run into either this cell or this cell, or this symbol or this symbol. If it's part of this symbol, that works. The counterpart is here, so it would be, this would be the room then. If it's part of the vertical line, the counterpart cell of this cell would be, so we need these two, it would be here, and that is taken. So it can't be part of this vertical line. So the only way for this cell to join a room, it has to be part of the room with this dot. So these two lines have to be mirrored here and here. And now we have three lines, they have to be mirrored here, here, and here. So that fills up this room here. And that also means that these two cells are now part of this room with the horizontal bar, which means we have to have the same walls on the other side of this vertical mirror, so to speak. Now this could end there, or we could have this here, this cell be part of it, because this cell, the mirror goes through the middle of the cell, so this would be symmetrical as well. We don't know yet. Or do we know? Let's look at this cell. What does it join if it doesn't join this one? Can't join this because the counterpart would be 3 away, would be here. That's taken. But it could still be part. No, it couldn't still be part of this horizontal line. Now, if this was a vertical line, it could be something like this T shape, and that would be vertically symmetrical, and that's why I thought it might be part of this, but it can't actually, because this is a horizontal bar. So the counterpart of this along this axis would be here, and that's taken. So the only room available for this to use this cell is the room with the vertical bar here. So we must take this, and then obviously this line needs a counterpart here. So that's this room solved. Now, this looks very restricted, this horizontal bar, but in fact it's not, because all of these 5 segments here already have a mirrored counterpart. So this one has a counterpart here, this one has a counterpart here, and this half has a counterpart on the other half. So this could be part of it or not, but we don't know yet. And the problem with a cell like this, which can join a whole lot of others, even though it looks very unlikely, like it could be something like this, we would have to go through all the options, like could this do some kind of weird wriggling to get into this, and sometimes they can. So we can't be sure that this, even though it looks very likely to be part of this, because it can't be part of this, counterpart would be here, can't be part of this for numerous reasons, looks very likely to be part of this. We don't know for sure, and it's in a sort of open area, so there are a lot of possibilities. We could go through all of them, but not necessary maybe at this point, because we have some easier logic to do before we start thinking about that. So what about these two cells? Who can get to these cells? Now obviously this dot can't, because we have a wall here. We can't go there, and the counterparts would be off the grid, and that's why we have the wall here. They could be part of this this vertical bar or this one. Now, if they're part of this one, where are the counterparts of these two? Let's look at this cell. It would be, is it here? 2 to the left and 1 up. So 2 to the right and 1 down would be here. So we can't, this dot can't take this cell, and certainly can't take this cell if this is something else. So all in all, we know these two cells must be part of this horizontal line. So these two have to be limited from these. So these ended up being 1 cell rooms here. Now what about this next cell here? We know these two are part of this. What about this? It can't be part of this, because that would be out of off the grid here, and it can't be part of this dot here, because the counterpart cell would be here, and we can't take that. That's already taken. So the only other option is this this horizontal bar. So if this cell is part of it, that means this cell must be part of it, and we must separate it from this dot, and we can fill in this dot now. So this has to be part of it. and this has to be part of it. And since there's a line here, we have to mirror it along this horizontal axis, and the mirror image is there. That gives us a cell that has to be part of this dot, and it has 3 walls, so we can fill in those 3 walls. And now how do we complete this box here? If we put a line here, let's look at that first, which doesn't work. It doesn't work because we have to put a line here. And now both of these dots need this cell to be symmetrical. This would need this cell, and this would need this cell. It's impossible to fill it so that both of these are symmetrical. So the only other way to do it is to continue this room here this way. So separate it from this dot, fill out this dot, and now since this is part of this vertical line, its counterpart cell, which is here, the mirror cell has to be here, separated from the dot, and fill in this counterpart for this line for the dot. So this is now a symmetrical room along this axis, and we have these minimal dots in the middle. So that's that part done. This one we did. What about the cells here? So these can only be reached by 3 symbols. This one, which could reach all the way here, or this one, or this one. Now, actually here we already we can just separate these two, and the counterpart of this would be here. And now remember, we don't need a counterpart here because this half is a counterpart of the other one, the other half along this axis. So this could still continue this way. Now, this cell here is especially can't be part of this dot. That would be the counterpart cell would be here, and that's taken. So the only option is this room growing all the way up there. So we separate it from the dot, we fill up the dot, and this room is just one horizontal, big horizontal room there. Now then, is this cell hard to fill? Can't be part of this horizontal line because the counterpart would be here. Counterpart of this would be here, and it can't be part of this horizontal line because there's already a wall there. So it has to be part of this. So this horizontal line has to take both of these. So separate this, which means there's a wall there. We have to separate that, and it has to go there. And that is part of that cell is part of it. Now it could go there because this counterpart cell is free as well. It could be this structure, but that's how far it can go. Then it would end here. So it's either just these 5 cells or these 5 cells plus 1 extra on both sides. But we know this has to be a line because we have a line here. Now, do we have to go here? Does this have to go here, or can this take it? This can take this cell because this one is free. But if this one is taken by this symbol, now let's just draw it. If we take this cell for this symbol, it has to be, this has to be part of it. Now this dot has to be a 1 cell dot, and now we leave a cell here that I don't think we can reach. So there are 3 options: this one, and this one. Can't be part of this symbol because the counterpart cell of this would be here along this axis. Can't be part of this dot because the counterpart would be, now I have to count, so 1, 2 diagonally and 1 to the left. So 1, 2 diagonally and 1 to the right. It would be, the counterpart would be here. So that's taken. And this horizontal line fails immediately. It would have to go down and it can't go up. In fact, we can draw this line to separate these two, fill up the dot, and draw the counterpart line here. So in fact, this cell would only have 2 options, and neither of them works. So in other words, this symbol cannot take this. Maybe a complicated way of showing it, but it just, this this cell just wouldn't work. Maybe an easier way to show it would be to ask which symbol can take this cell, because it can't be this one, as we just showed, and it can't be this one as we just showed. And as we just showed, we can draw these lines and fill up the dot, and in fact there's a dot there that we haven't filled up yet. So this cell cannot be reached by this, it cannot be reached by this. The only other option is this one, so it has to be here. So these two lines have to be mirrored here, and this line has to be mirrored here. Now, since we have a line here, symmetrically along this axis, we have to have a line here. And now this fills up our horizontal bar room here. So this has to take this counterpart cell here. There's a dot that we can, that's limited on 3 sides. We can just fill that in. And what to do about these ones? So these are not going to get any more help from the outside. These are already walled in, so we must be able to solve them without any additional help. So let's see, where's this cell connecting to? It can't be this one, because it would have to go through here, and then it would have to go through here to be symmetrical along this axis. Can't do that because these symbols are in the way. Can't be part of this symbol because the counterpart would be here, and that's taken. So it has to be part of this dot. So these two have to have symmetrical lines here and here, and this line again has to have a symmetrical line there. And we filled in this room, which is already symmetrical. So that looks good. Now, where do we go next? Should we look at the top again? We had some problem cells here that we couldn't figure out. Yeah, maybe the top isn't the way to go. Maybe look at the bottom left corner here. So here we have 6 cells that have 2 potential symbols that can still reach them. So any of these 3 joining this vertical line would mean that their counterparts would be among these 3, which are all taken. So none of these 3 can be part of this vertical line. The counterparts would have to be here. So that means all of these 3 cells are part of this vertical line, which means these 3 walls need counterparts here, here, and here. And now we have 3 cells for this vertical line, but again, these are already symmetrical along this axis, so we don't get any additional lines there. Now we can ask a question about, let's say, these. There are a lot of cells here that are hard to reach. Like, for example, these can be reached by 3 symbols, which are all vertical lines. So the top one, for example, what can it be part of? Can it be part of this one? It cannot, because the counterpart would be out of the grid there. 3 to the right, we would need 3 to the left, but we don't have 3 cells to the left. Can it be part of this vertical bar? Would have to go 2 to the left and 2 to the 2 up, and 2 to the right and 2 up again, since we are vertically mirroring. So the counterpart cell would be here, and that's already taken. Not available for this one. So the only option is this vertical bar. So this would have to go down to the right 2 cells and then up 2 cells. So it have to go down to the left 2 cells and up 2 cells. And this is available. So we would need these 3 walls here, and then this wall would be mirrored here. And this is a room with this vertical bar symmetry, and we filled in this room, which already also has this vertical bar symmetry. Now this cell, we made a cell that can only be reached by this, so the counterpart has to be here, and we have to have a counterpart for this wall. Now these 2, and this has been there for a while, these 2 cells must join this symbol, and since this is a vertical bar, their counterparts must be there. So all of these walls must be the same as these walls. And now we made a cell here which can only be part of the room with this symbol. So the counterpart of this cell would be here, and we can draw all these three walls, and we can complete the dot as well. And I guess we were missing a separation there, which gives us a line here, and we can complete the dot as well. Now, what about this symbol here? We have a line here, so the counterpart along this axis has to be here. And now this cell must be part of this dot, so the counterpart is here. And what about these symbols here? For example, this corner cell here. Now this can reach three different symbols. If it's this one, the symmetrical cell would be 2 diagonally here, so there. So that's taken, can't be part of this symbol. If it's this dot here, it's 3 up, so it would be 3 up here, which is available, but that would require an empty here. So this would have to be empty while this dot reaches here. And if this dot reaches here, there's no symbol left on this in this pocket here for this cell. So even if we could do something like this and reach this cell symmetrically to this, this cell can't reach any other symbol if this reaches around to it. So a complicated way of saying that this dot cannot reach all the way there. And this obviously can't even see it. So if this can't and this can't, that means this symbol has to reach there. Now if it reaches there, it has to have symmetry along this axis. So this wall has to be here, and this wall, obviously we have to take these cells as well. Otherwise, these are not reaching these cells. This symbol is not reaching these cells without these. So this wall has to have a counterpart here. Now, what about, yeah, these still have options, I think. No, they don't, maybe. So these two cells have to be part of this, because if they were part of this horizontal line, the counterparts would be here. And these are not, these are taken. So these two cells have to be part of this dot here. So these three walls have to be here, here, and here. And now we have two walls to fill in there. And we made this room as well, which is symmetrical along this horizontal axis. And this dot is limited on 3 sides. We can fill it in as well. Now, what did we have in the middle there? So can we reach these two cells from this? Is that the right question? Or maybe the right question is asking what can reach here, this cell. It can't be this diamond. It would be, for example, here, and for example here, and for example here, or which are two of which are taken. Can't be this dot because the counterpart would be here. Can't be this vertical line because the counterpart would be, is it this cell here? And it can't be part of, well, it would be very hard for it to be part of this dot, but it even doesn't work because it would have to go through this cell, which is part of this horizontal line. So this cell has to be part of this vertical line, which means this wall needs a counterpart here, and we can fill in this one cell dot room as well. And we made a 2 by 3 room here, which is, of course, symmetrical along this axis. Now, this cell here cannot be part of the horizontal line, because its counterpart would be here. And the only other symbol it sees is this vertical line. So these two walls need a counterpart on this side. So this, and we filled in a room here, and that is symmetrical along this axis. Now, unfortunately, this cell could be part of this, making this the counterpart, or it could be part of this horizontal line, making this the counterpart cell. So we don't necessarily know which way it goes, but we should know because this is all walled in, so we're not going to get any more help for these symbols. So we should be able to do this. What about this cell? Can this be part of anything else than the dot? Let's see. If it's part of the diamond, again, it would be here, and this counterpart cell doesn't work. So it's not part of the diamond. It's not part of this vertical bar because the mirror image cell would be here. And it's definitely not part of this horizontal bar. It would have to go 5 to the left. So it would be somewhere like here. Obviously impossible. So this cell has to be part of the dot here. So these two walls must be here, and this wall has to be here. We filled in this room, which is symmetrical, and we filled in this room. Now, what is the question to ask here? Can we, what can reach this cell? Unfortunately, I think there are still two ways to reach it. It could be this, a vertical bar, which would force this to be a one cell diamond, which would make this cell part of this, and then would make this a one cell horizontal bar, and would make this cell part of this dot, and then it would have to take the dot would have to take this cell, but it couldn't because this bar is already taking that. So there's a sort of chain effect which eventually ends up not working, but that's a pretty long way to reach that. Maybe there's another way. Maybe we can look at what this cell can be part of. Like, can it be part of the dot, or does it have to be part of this? Now, if it can't be part of the dot, we can draw this line and this line. So it can't be part of this diamond because there's a counterpart cell here which can't be part of the diamond. It can't be part of this bar because the counterpart cell would be here. That's not available. It can obviously be part of this horizontal line, but can it be part of the dot here? So that would indicate this. If we take this cell away, now nothing can reach this cell, I think. This bar can't reach this cell without using this, and this diamond can't reach this cell without using this. So that means this dot can never take this cell because this would be left stranded. So that's a wall, that's a wall. Now we have 3 walls here which need to be mirrored on this side. Draw this wall here. And now we have 3 walls which have to be mirrored on this side. So we have to draw these to account for this mirroring along this axis. And once we draw that, we have a cell here that has to be part of the diamond, and we have to have all of these cells that are part of the diamond as well. And that fills our this part of the grid. This is horizontal, this vertically symmetrical along this vertical axis. This is symmetrical along this vertical axis, and this is 90-degree symmetrical. So this all seems to work. Now we only have this bottom right to fill. And where do we start with the bottom right then? Let's see. What about this cell here? Can it be part of anything else except this diamond, which looks very suspiciously part of it, right? Can't be part of this. Can it not be part of it? I don't think it can be part of this horizontal bar. So it have to take this cell and this cell without this cell and without this cell. Now it can still get around it, taking all of these cells. Okay, maybe I should just mark the cells. So if we take, and this I think is wrong, if we take for this symbol, if we take this cell, symmetrically we have to take this cell as well. Symmetrically we can't take this cell and can't take this cell. Well, we have to reach them somehow, so we have to go through here, but symmetrically we have to go through here as well. And now we would have to come from here and symmetrically here as well. So somehow reach these, and on this side there's only one way to do it actually. Actually there are a couple of ways, but they have to go here, symmetrically have to go here, and now it would be something like either this or this. Now either of those leaves a diamond there that can't possibly take any other cells and leaves empty cells in the middle. Specifically this cell can't be reached by anything if we go around this and box off this diamond as a one cell area. So a long way of saying that this bar cannot take this cell. And change the tool again. Yeah, all right. So this diamond obviously can't take it. It would be, let's just see, just for fun, 3 diagonally and 1 to the right. So it would be here and here. That would be one of the 3 counterparts. So that's obviously impossible. This bar taking this cell would mean this cell is part of it as well. If you mirror it horizontal along this vertical axis, so that's impossible. This can't take anything. This vertical bar can't take anything on this column because that would be outside. The counterpart would be outside the grid, so it can't take this cell. And obviously, if we use any of these dots, the counterpart would be way outside the grid there, because these are like, for example, this one, which is the furthest up. It's still 4 cells up, and we don't have 4 cells down. So neither of these dots work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. So that means this cell has to be part of this diamond here, which means this wall has to have a counterpart here, here, and here. And now the question remains, does this cell have to be part of the diamond as well? If it does, we know that the diamond is this shape, because that's as far as the diamond can go. But maybe something else can reach in there. This diamond obviously can't. It would be somewhere like here. Way too many symbols in front of it. This one can't, for the same reason it couldn't take this one. Symmetrically can't take this one. This horizontal bar can, this vertical bar can never take anything away from this column, because the counterpart would be outside the grid. Same is true of this. And this one we looked at. So the only symbol that can take this cell is this diamond. Now careful here, because this is still open. It could continue this way. So this wall has to now be here, here, and here. And now we have this corner here as well. So this wall has to be here, here, and here. And now we fill in this room, which obviously is symmetrical along this axis. Now this also gave us some cells which are really hard to reach, which are these 2. This can't take them because they would be, let's just see. So one of the counterparts would be 2 right and 3 to the 3 up. So 2 left and 3 down would be here. Impossible to reach from this, obviously. Can't be that, because that cannot take anything outside of this column, and can't be this because the counterpart would be here, mirrored along this axis would be here, and that's already taken by the diamond. So the only symbol that can take these cells is this one. So that means this cell is part of it. So that needs this line needs to be mirrored here. And now, since we know this reaches in there, now we don't know how it reaches. It could take these cells with these cells as well. All are valid. We know it takes at least these 2 cells. and at the bottom we don't know whether it takes this cell or not. But this corner now, knowing that this vertical bar reaches in there, this corner can only be reached by this. Now, I said it wrong. It can be reached by this, but the counterpart cell would be here. It could never be symmetrical. And it can be reached by this, but the counterpart cell would be here, obviously. Very, very impossible. So this has to be part of the diamond, which means this corner has to be mirrored here, here, and here. And since these corners are part of the diamond, this has to be part of the diamond as well. So this wall is mirrored here, here, and here. So we have this diamond structure here. This gives us a cell that can only be part of this dot, so we can fill in the dot symmetrically. This dot can be filled in. And now, what can we say about, let's say, this cell? This cell cannot be reached by this horizontal bar because the counterpart cell would be here, and that would prevent this symbol from reaching these cells, which must be part of it. So the only other option, this can't reach there because that would be outside the grid. The only other option is this one. So this wall has to be mirrored this way, and that's this vertical bar's room completed. Now, since we know these two cells are part of this vertical line, we can mirror these two walls now on this side. And now all of these 6 cells must be part of this vertical line. They can never be part of this this dot that would be outside the grid, and this is the only other symbol that they see. So these two cells must be part of this symbol, and that means this wall can be mirrored here. Now we still don't know whether this is part of the dot or this bar here. But if we look at this cell here, we know this cell can only be part of this vertical bar because the counterpart for this dot to reach there, the counterpart cell would be here. Now, if this is part of the vertical bar, that means we can mirror these two walls here and here. And since there's a wall here, we can fill in the wall for the dot here. And I think we are finished with the walls here. Now then, since we are finished with the walls, we now can look at coloring this grid, and we're going to do it in 3 colors now. So we need purple, so color in all the purple rooms, all the rooms that have a purple symbol. So we can do that. I think that's it. Then we need blue rooms, this one, this long one. Is that it? Here's one. And the red ones as well. Are there any red ones we need to color? Here one, and here this one, this one, and this one. Is that it? And there's one here. That's red. That's red. And here we had a blue one we missed. So this one. Now let's zoom out. Is that correct? Other colored symbols that I've missed? Yes, there are. There's a red one. This must be filled. And this is a red one as well, so this must be filled. Now, we didn't have any. I'm just trying to see if I actually missed anything else. I did actually miss. There's a blue one as well. Wow. So now we have the finished grid, and somehow we didn't get the message. I think it might not recognize the black black edges here. I think they have to be green or something for it to check your answer. But I think this is the correct grid. Now we have to interpret this somehow and figure out what we're meant to look for here. And to do that, maybe we should look at the tags of the puzzle. So what kind of information are we looking for here? So knowledge always, geography always. And then we have grid deduction, which is what we did, some logic in a grid, and visual. So we have to interpret something visually, and there's a language tag. So something related to language is going to be necessary here. Now, there are three colors here, and one of them is one plus the other. So purple, if you want to make purple, you need red and blue, right? So what if we interpret this as two separate things? One is the red, including purple, and one is blue, again, including purple. And now maybe we should draw that in as black so it's more clear. And I'll erase it if I can after. But if we look at red only, or not red only, red and purple, so we would have all of these. And if we look at the language tag, does this ring any bells for us? And the bells it should be ringing is maybe these are characters from another language. So I'm just trying to look up how far back I can erase this. Okay, yeah, that worked. So so this looks like characters from another language. That should be what we are getting from here. So if we start with the red variant, which we just drew, and then look at then take the blue variant. Now the blue, let's look at the blue. What the blue looks like. So everything with blue or purple, that should look like. Oh, it's wrong there. Like this. Here we are. So these should look like Chinese or Japanese characters. That's what they are supposed to look like. Now here we are cut off somehow, and in the red one we had this part here which was sort of unfinished. So if we put those two together, if you look at those two together, can we find characters that match what we see on the screen? And for that I have and I mentioned this last time, I have a site here open that allows you to draw in this case, Chinese characters, and you can find the correct character, like the text character, from your drawing. So last time I said I'm not going to do this, but just explain that there are sites that do that, and now we are looking at one and trying to interpret these characters. So let's just go back to the red. So there, the red is going to be the first one. We're going to have three characters, one of which is on like two halves. So the red one, the first character is going to be something like this. So if we look up this shape, where's my, let's see. Here we are. Did I just lose it? Here we are, handwritten Chinese input. So if we draw this character, we should be getting, what was it, something like this, and then this and this. We should be finding out one character which looks like what we had, and that's not this one. It's pretty close. Here we are. This is what we need. It's pretty small, just zoom in. So we found the character which was, did I lose it now? Here we are. So the character that we drew on the other screen is here. And we need two more. So that was the first one. And now we had, just go all the way back, because I don't want to lose the blues while I show the reds here. So now we had the rest of the reds and then some of the blue showing another character. So the blue from this side now would be something like this. Yeah, and if we imagine this side next to this one, we should get a character that looks something like, clear this one, something like this. And then two lines here. Something like this. And that looks exactly like our character here. The first one. And then if we look at just the blue, the remainder of the blue, we should be finding a final character here. And I guess we already saw that, but I'll show it again. And obviously I could make a larger grid and just draw these in, but that would take a long time. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So I'm using a little bit of imagination to fill in those two halves there. So this is the remainder of the blue now. And that should look like a character. Let's clear this one. That looks something like this. And this fits the bill, this last one. And now we can just search for these three characters and hopefully find a destination that matches our description. So remember, we were climbing some stairs to reach a religious site of some sort. And if we look them up, the first result is Chinese Wikipedia, 10,000 Buddhas Monastery. Now this is going to be the final answer, our destination here. And I'm going to open the English dictionary, English Wikipedia, because I can't read that. So this is where we are, 10,000 Buddhas Monastery in Hong Kong. So this is the religious site that Gladys is visiting. And we have a picture of that here. So a lot of Buddha statues, basically. And it's very high, up a hill. So this was our destination this time. And we can look at, we even have those symbols, by the way, that we drew. Two of them, we have them here. And we can look at the map, see where we are. So last time we were in Suzhou. Before that in Zhoujiago, and now we're in Hong Kong, 10,000 Buddhas Monastery. And our trip so far, again, pretty hard to fit on the screen, but here we are, all the way almost around the world, and this is what is left. But again, still a lot left. This is episode 43 of 81, if we all live that long. So the next one, I'm not sure when the next one is going to come up, because as I said, I haven't posted it yet. It's still under works. It's going to be called Escape from a Grand Canyon, and it's sort of a escape room themed puzzle. But if I don't get it out in a reasonable time, I might make some videos about something else, not in this series, but in the meantime. But it shouldn't take ages to finish at this point. So that will be episode 44, Escape from a Grand Canyon. And for episode 43, thanks for watching.